Okay, we're live. Hey, I wanted to tell everybody I have Neal Schaffer as a guest today, and you just recently wrote the book, The Age of Influence, and today kind of wanted to talk about the things that are going on in social as far as the regular social and how things are kind of transferring to LinkedIn to some extent. And I think you know a little bit about LinkedIn since you wrote a few books with LinkedIn on it. So there's no doubt about that. One thing I do want to say is I have seen some of your content, and I'm very impressed with the fact that you know how to speak Chinese and Japanese. Congratulations. I've been married for 36 years and I still haven't mastered Spanish. So that's great. The other thing I wanted to say is the other thing that got my attention is the fact that you fell in the ice on a river in China and you almost didn't make it back. So I wouldn't be talking to you if you didn't make it. So that must have been one experience to talk about. But anyway, so let's just go into the age of influence. I think that's fast forward through all the social media things that have happened over the last 10 years, because I think we're in overdrive and things are kind of blowing up with COVID. And so anyway, your book, The Age of Influence, was released when?
It actually came out in March of 2020. So it's been less than a year. I did not plan for it to come out in the middle of a pandemic. It's just,
that's awesome timing. Awesome timing.
But you know what? I'm a no excuses type of guy. It actually, when we look back, like recently, what are the greatest marketing books published in 2020? There weren't that many books published. So I think in some ways it helped generate demand. And it forced me to just go completely digital with my outreach and my promotions. And it's actually influencing my next book, which is this digital first mentality. How do you engage with people when you can't meet them in person, when they're not seeing your billboard? They're not, reading your physical newspaper. They're not going out to the store as often to buy things where you may have gotten them with a coupon, what have you. So I think it was actually a really, really good exercise for me to best understand how to really put digital. If you had to go 100% digital in your approach to marketing, can you do it? How would you do it? How can you be effective doing it? So it was a great experience. I'm really happy with how the book's done. I have no complaints, no regrets.
One thing I can tell you in the food business, if you have a brand and you're just getting started, let's say your sales are 50,000 a year and you're trying to get off the ground, one of the ways of doing it is by doing store demos. Okay. That's not happening. Yep. The other thing is, how about knocking on the door of the buyer? Well, that's not happening. What about going to a big food show or local one, national one? That's not happening. So it kind of opens, that's the lead in for your book right there. Boom.
That's the next book. Absolutely. And it's not just obviously everybody watching this in the food industry, but it's every industry, right? B2B industries, you have these big trade shows, big conferences where they generate so many leads, all gone virtual. And it's just very different when it's virtual. So yeah, how do you on a daily basis get yourself in front of the people that matter to your business, whether it's the consumer or whether it's the B2B buyer? And that's where, if it's the consumer, we have Instagram, Facebook. If it's a young consumer, we have, TikTok, Snapchat. And for B2B, we have LinkedIn. And that's really how you begin to navigate where you need to be. How you engage on those different platforms is probably what we're going to talk about next. But that's how you begin to navigate, and you really, go all in on digital if you haven't been. And, for your industry as well, I hear about companies, they never had an e-commerce store. It's like, oh, we need to launch an e-commerce store now, right? So obviously we've seen a lot of that happening, and that's a no-brainer. But once you have, one of my clients are not in the food industry, they're in a B2C, I'm a fractional CMO, right? And they're in the hair color industry. And, I helped them launch their e-commerce store like a year ago. And let me tell you, that is paying dividends. In so many ways. It's not just the fact that they can serve their customer, but it's also, and I'd say the same thing for the food industry. I know it's less efficient, right? And there's more overhead and what have you, less profitability. But the interaction you get directly working with people and understanding the trends, understanding your customer, right? And not having to rely on just looking at what happened in retail outlets. We have no idea what's going on in the market. It just gives you so much insight into your business and your products. And it's going to help you obviously be more effective with product development and in marketing your current products. And I'm
think,
sure you've seen that as well, Randall.
I think social media has been a thing that a lot of people said, oh, I'm going to get more involved in it later. But why should I get involved in it? Because I could go see the buyer, I could jump on a plane, I could do all these different things, and all the excuses of getting involved in it were used. But now that's not the situation. And the deal is the return on investment on LinkedIn. It's a little harder to kind of find it, because what happens is the decision to bring a new product line into a grocery store chain or a restaurant, it might be 6 months or a year down the road, might be 2 years down the road. But by developing a social presence, you're letting people know that, yes, I do sell orange juice. Yes, I do sell orange juice. Yes, I'm the third largest manufacturer. Yes, I'm this, I'm that, and that, whatever. And then by the time the orange juice category is available for, hey, they already kind of know about your orange juice already. So that's.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing, and we talk, this is the big keyword for 2020 is pivot, right? And I have a brother who is a winemaker, so I guess it's sort of related to food. And it's sort of a boutique winery in Santa Barbara County, California. He's not in a lot of stores. He competes with a lot of obviously big wine brands. But what he noticed was, and he would do events, like, restaurant events, what have you. He noticed that one event company reached out to him and said, hey, we want to do a virtual wine tasting. So he did it once, and the people who attended were executives at a big Silicon Valley Fortune 500 company. So he starts thinking, if I can do these virtual wine tastings, not only can I sell wine, right, but I can also engage with people. And these people are, executive influencers. They have networks. They have people that work in the company. Maybe they'll hire me again. Maybe they'll personally buy my wine. Maybe they'll tell their friends about the wine. So where does he go? He goes to LinkedIn. He looks for people that do events. He looks for people in HR in charge of employee engagement, which is why they want to do these wine tastings with their employees. And now his business is literally blowing up, right? Even though he gets a lot of money from his wine tasting room, which he's had to shut down half the time because of the lockdown here in California, he is consistently busy doing these wine tastings, getting his wine out there. And that's the whole thing. And I think with food in general, especially if you're just starting out, you want to get it out there. You want to get it in the hands of people that are buying it. You want to get them to start talking about it. And he's been able to pivot really successfully doing that. And I think there's an analogy there. Now, wine tasting, it's a little bit easier to do that because when you ship wine, it's $100 a pop. If you have a $2 loaf of bread or whatever, it's a little bit different. But I think the same analogy, how are you pivoting digitally to generate revenue, to incite word of mouth, to get your product out there? I think that's where we're going to see going forward in 2021 and 2022, those that really gain market share in the marketplace and those that begin to decline because they haven't been as active digitally.
But in your case, basically what you did was you went B2B with the wine tasting kind of is a B2B play. It goes to the other person that's actually an influencer in whatever industry it is. And then it actually turns into a B2C play, because if they tell their 10,000 employees that this product is locally made in the county or Southern California or Northern California, whatever the deal is, then it actually turns into a B2C play, and that person can go and buy that product three hours from now.
And then when the pandemic's done, maybe they go down to the wine tasting room because they had such a great time. They learned so much about wine. My brother is pretty enthusiastic speaker on wine, and from that connection, right? We do business with people and brands we like, know, and trust. It's a great way to build. I mean, you have to build it digitally today, right? And being together on a Zoom gives them the excuse to be able to build that relationship.
Well, the thing that I always looked at is when you jump on a plane and you have a presentation and you fly clear across the country to go make that presentation, and then you get there and you get everything all set up and you make your appointment and you talk to that one person. Well, that's a lot of hours that you could have been talking to a whole bunch of different people. And that's the difference. Now, if you have all these great places to go and these appointments, then sure, you don't have to worry about the digital at that particular time if you don't have the time to do it. But what I was doing before the pandemic started, I was actually just looking to find manufacturers, food manufacturers that were participating at the upcoming show that was going to happen. And you don't know, I had to do a lot of work to try to find 5 people that were going to be at the show. And as soon as I got 5 different companies at the show, I did a post that went out to 10 or 15,000 back in that day, 10,000 different people possible deal. Whereas it just let them know that, hey, if you're going to that show, this company's there, that company's there, this company's there. So that was happening before the pandemic. Now it's kind of now we're in 100%. It just changes real quick.
Yeah, and to put things in perspective, what you were talking about there. I live in Orange County, California, and my wife is Japanese, and I speak Japanese and lived there 15 years. So I have a lot of friends that work at a lot of Japanese companies here. And one, he went back to Japan recently, but he heads basically the American division of a Japanese sweets company. And he was really struggling with social media. And like everybody else, we got to be on Instagram. So he invested money in Instagram. But what made the impact in his business is that he also used LinkedIn, and he was able to get into some Costco's. And getting into the Costco's through LinkedIn at a few locations did way more for his business than all the activity on Instagram, posting photos and tag us and what have you. So you really got to put things in perspective. I wrote The Age of Influence, and I've since even gone further in my thoughts. I think social media, I think social media marketing should just be about collaborating with people, collaborating with customers, collaborating with influencers. You should not be posting, especially in the food industry, where if people are using your product, they're probably taking photos, they're tagging. I mean, I would have a 100% user-generated content strategy on Instagram, and I would be very active in working with people that can help incite word of mouth, starting with those that already like, know, and trust my brand, customers. And, brands make this mistake. I get tons of stuff. And you were talking about how an influencer marketing agency reached out to you. I'm signed up as an influencer because I have like 15,000 followers on Instagram. I get all sorts of stuff, right? These random brands I've never eaten their stuff, and they want to throw $100 my way. And they're throwing money out the door because it's a one-time transaction. And I'm thinking, if they actually reached out to people who actually use them, of how those people probably in exchange for product, they'd more than happy. Some of them, you may not even have to give them any product. They just love to be part of it because they love your brand. So that is the revolution that needs to happen. I'm hoping, got a copy here. I'm hoping that the Age of Influence helps accelerate that revolution. But that is where I see the industry going. And I think once you give up your brand on social to your followers, to your customers, it opens up the time to build deeper relationships with those people, and also the focus on efforts that I think are more important, like the B2B buyer, or strategic relationships, or maybe orchestrating all these influencers together to put on your own food show. And I was talking, my Japanese friend, he's like, we're going to put on our own Japanese food show because it doesn't exist, and we should have that. And we're going to bring them all together, and everyone benefits, including them. So then you sort of become the category leader. So there's a lot of things. I mean, Randall, you reached out to me. I think you had no idea what we were going to talk about today, but we could talk about this for hours. We
could talk all day. There's no doubt about that. No question. But the deal is, it's just the deal. Back to the demo thing. One thing I can tell you is that if you get into a busy store with a lot of customers, and you're let's say you're demoing ice cream, for instance, you're going to have a line. You're going to have a line of people that want to try that new ice cream that just came out, okay? And the thing is, back in the day, the only people that got excited about it were the people in line. Now you could actually kick it up and share it with the whole world and let people know that they're in Metairie, Louisiana, at a Rouse's grocery store eating whatever. And let's say it's gumbo. They're eating gumbo in Rouse's, and you can see everybody's all excited about eating a gumbo with shrimp and oysters, for instance. Okay, and you can share that with the world.
No, I agree. The hair color company, they also do, like I said, different industry, but same thing. They will do pop-up, shops within stores. They'll do demo booths to try to get people interested, and sometimes they'll offer a discount to get people to buy the product, what have you, and they're very, very effective. But yeah, they could be live streaming that, right? Maybe just 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time. But what people, I think the biggest shift we've seen, it's with influencer marketing, but with organic social in general, is that because of the pandemic, influencers don't have time to fly to Bali to get that perfect angle for that, that shot. Celebrities don't have time to go to the studio to record something. People are showing up raw, and it's authentic, and people dig that more than anything, right? So just to have that raw footage of just average people like you and me, just, at the store trying to, I mean, that says a lot about the brand. And that information, that content is so much more consumable than if you were to stage something, right? Let's rent let's rent a studio. Let's bring in people. The scenery looks fake. The environment looks fake. The people at the end of the day look fake. And it actually probably works against your brand. And even more so, I mean, this trend for authenticity was getting stronger and stronger, but the pandemic just, blew it out of the water. So now I think it's actually easier for brands to participate, to be, you don't have to put up this facade, just be natural, just be yourself. And like I said, let the people engaging with you do the talking for you. That's the most important thing.
That's the thing. I think people believe things when other people are talking about it instead of you talking about it. You could say that your chili is the best chili that you ever made, and that everybody loves it because grandma came out with the recipe. It doesn't mean as much as somebody else coming up to you and trying it and say, wow, this is pretty awesome. It's always better to be said by somebody else. And then, like you said, on the influencer deal, all the different consumers that really love whatever the deal is. Like me, I love pecans, pralines, and cream on Bluebell ice cream. I love it. I talk about it all the time. That's an example. That's something that I like. And the thing is, it's an unlimited number of things out there that you really like.
Yeah, it's like my 13-year-old son, right? We're looking at high schools and we sort of want him to go to one. He wants to go to another. No matter how much we convince him or try, he'll never go to the one we say. But if one of his best friends ends up going to another school, boom, he's there. And that's human nature, right?
Yeah. Hey, one thing you did impress me, you said that your wife is from Japan and she speaks Spanish, and that's how you really got good at speaking Spanish? Because it didn't work.
No, Japanese. I don't no hablo español.
Okay. Wait. You probably know more Spanish than I do, even though, you probably have that talent to pick up the language faster.
Well, Southern California, there's half the population here is Hispanic. So I hear a lot of Spanish.
But what I'm saying, you probably do. I just don't, that's not my thing, So hey, by the way, as far as influencers go, my vehicle that I drive is 13 years old. Okay, it's not a sports car or anything like that. It's not.
There you go.
It's just the real deal. That's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
So I saw something that you said something about writing something about Twitter. Are you gonna write something about Twitter later down the road?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's funny because,
things change. You could have said that 6 months ago or 8 months ago, and everything changes right out the get-go.
So I started, my background's B2B sales, biz dev marketing in high technology in Asia. So I have a pretty unique background, but I started my journey launching a blog all about LinkedIn back in 2008. So my first book was about LinkedIn, 2009, Windmill Networking, Understanding, Leveraging, and Maximizing LinkedIn. And when 2011 came around, I was halfway done with the Twitter book, Windmill Networking, Understanding, Leveraging, and Maximizing Twitter. But I decided that the first book I wrote wasn't meeting, I'd already started to become a business consultant. So I wanted to write a business book. So I ended up writing Maximizing LinkedIn for Sales and Social Media Marketing. And when 2013 came around, I was talking with my publisher, Wiley, and I'm like, okay, I can write about my social media strategy consulting that I've been doing, or I have this Twitter book on the back burner, right? And they said, write about social media strategy. That became Maximize Your Social. So I've always had this content. And so I do have a draft now of a free ebook about Twitter. I already have one about LinkedIn called Maximizing LinkedIn for Business. You can go to my website and find that. But I do want to get that Twitter one out there. But I'm also working on a free ebook that's going to be a preview to my new book about this digital first approach to marketing. So I'm concurrently working on 2 ebooks. I'm hoping in Q1 I'll be able to get them both out there, and they'll both be absolutely free. Yeah,
but the one thing I can tell you is, as long as you know about all the other different platforms, you learn little things. You learn a lot of little things from the way they operate, and it kind of gives you an idea of what LinkedIn's going to do later down the road. So it's just like testing the competition, LinkedIn's competition, and the more you know about all the other guys, the better off you are.
To me, LinkedIn, and it was back in 2011 or 2012 where they actually added Twitter functionality, the ability that you can't share to any other network, but you can add your Twitter profile to your LinkedIn profile,
right.
Share to Twitter. So, from a B2B perspective, Twitter is second to LinkedIn. I know a lot of people will think Facebook, but when I work with B2B companies, the first network is always LinkedIn, but the second one, more often than not, ends up being Twitter. So, I think it's easy to get caught up in the big shiny new object. But I would urge you, if you haven't taken Twitter seriously, my blog, nealschaffer.com, gets more traffic from Twitter than any other network. In fact, I get more traffic from Twitter than LinkedIn and Facebook combined.
Wow, that's good.
Now I have a lot of followers on Twitter, and I'm a verified account on Twitter. I'm a verified account on Facebook as well. But yeah, Twitter is a culture of people that click on links, which is unlike any other. Pinterest is sort of similar, but that's why I think it works. And LinkedIn, the algorithm, they want you to stay on LinkedIn. Twitter doesn't care if you leave Twitter, and that makes a big difference.
Right. No question, because there is a lot of links there. Trying to get somebody to click a link on LinkedIn is a lot more difficult. Extremely difficult. By the way, engagement is very difficult. Just getting engagement is I mean, when you compare it to all the other platforms, as far as Instagram, it doesn't take them but a split second to decide, I'm going to like this, I'm going to like this, I'm going to like this all day long. Try to get that done on LinkedIn. It doesn't happen. It's very, very difficult. So like in my case, if I get 40 or 50 likes, I'm pretty happy on LinkedIn.
That's really good. Yeah, because we think about Facebook. Think how hard it is to get 40 or 50 likes from a fan page or a business page. I mean, it's really, really hard. So, LinkedIn the engagement isn't as bad. In fact, I almost think that LinkedIn these days, well, TikTok is probably the most if you're on TikTok, followed by Instagram, probably followed by LinkedIn. And I tell businesses, even if they're B2C, try a LinkedIn company page, share the same content you share on Facebook, and probably you're going to get better engagement on LinkedIn than Facebook. And it surprises a lot of people, but every company I've worked with, we found the same thing. Now that might change later on in the year, but right now that's still the case.
Hey, one thing I wanted to tell you, there's a lot of prime real estate as far as company pages and showcase pages on LinkedIn. It's like all these major brands that exist, a lot of them could easily get either a company page or a showcase page and have some real estate. And do you think that real estate will develop? I think it'll develop over time.
Yeah, because the beauty about LinkedIn is you're able to deal with not just customers. With Instagram, Facebook, it's mainly customers, right?
Right, correct.
But with LinkedIn, it's distribution, retail partners. It's the B2B people that you want to sell to. It's also people that you might want to employ in the future. So for that reason, whenever I look at what are the top sites used by Fortune 500 companies, LinkedIn's always number one over Facebook and Twitter for that reason that, you need to hire people as well. And you always want to have a pipeline of quality people. And they're going to check out your LinkedIn company page if they're on LinkedIn. So it does make sense. It gives you another way to engage. Some people call it employer branding. It's a type of branding that brands your company so that you attract more and more attractive people. And there's huge ROI doing that, especially in very, very competitive industries.
I think, I suggest to people if they make 6 different brownies with a UPC code, okay, for instance, you should set up a showcase page and have your name there, whatever the brand is, and then do a post. Even if this is all you ever do a post on the first one. It's a chocolate brownie. The next one's a chocolate peanut butter brownie, whatever. And you do 6 different posts. And if that's all you ever do, when somebody hears about your company, they go to the page and then they see, oh, wow, he makes this, and that. And that's it. It doesn't take a whole bunch of time and money to develop it later down the road. Now, if you want to develop it and say that you're doing a demo at the store, at the Sam's Club this weekend, that's a different story.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great strategy just to start out. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn, I think from a food industry perspective, is 5 years ago, no one would have posted about food. No one would have posted like selfies. The culture, as we get younger, as millennials are a majority of the working population, LinkedIn has also gotten very looser and more casual with the content, to the point where today you could post those food pictures and you will get engagement, where 5 years ago they would have said, why are you posting this on LinkedIn? So,
I've been doing that. I've been doing food since 2014. And I think that's what a lot of people were probably saying. Who is this guy? And why is he doing this with all the different food companies? So basically what I did was I felt that since I had quite a few followers at that time, I felt that it would give somebody an advantage. If they're just starting, it might get them an extra store, it might get them an extra chain, it might up the business, whatever, because it only takes one person, right? It only takes one. You could have 99 likes, but one of those likes can change your business's life.
You never know.
Yeah. And then the other thing is it doesn't have to be the buyer. It doesn't have to be the category manager. It might be the owner. It might be the guy that drives the truck tell the owner, hey, did you ever try this? Whatever. It just goes on and on and on. And the one thing I can say about food is that, at least with food, it's so conversational. I mean, it's something you could talk about all the time.
I agree. It's something we do 3 times a day.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're in the industry or not. You can have a food discussion with just about anybody. So that's the deal. Let me see how we're doing on time.
Yeah, we're pretty much at the. Yeah, my apologies, man.
You gotta go out. But I think you really. I think we covered a good bit of territory. The first 15 minutes, you kind of said exactly what I was looking for. So I think it worked out fine.
Awesome.
So oh, by the way, I just want to say this. I saw your I saw one of your deals with AJ Wilcox.
Oh yeah.
I did a LinkedIn Live with him a couple times. So the deal is, it's kind of like influencer marketing versus paid advertisement. It's 2 different options, but they work differently.
Very differently versus organic social. That's really, that's what it comes down to.
It's all about finding who you need to talk to, that's what it's all about. So if you don't want to do anything and you don't want to develop an organic following, you could pay for the paid ad, and AJ will be the first one to tell you it's expensive. So it's better if you can to develop that organic following.
No, I agree. And AJ, just give him a shout out. He's a great guy. I mean, if you want to do LinkedIn ads, he's the man.
Oh, he's the guy. He's the guy.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is, he's got the same background. Everything was identical. I said, wow, it looks like I'm looking at what I did with him. So he had his setup, and he was all ready to roll. But yeah, he does a great job. Okay, well, I'm gonna let you go here. I know you got to get going, and I appreciate your time. And I'm looking forward to your 5th book.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed this, and yeah, let's do this again.
Okay, you take care.
All right, thank you.
Okay, right.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.